Welcome to the ManTFUp Podcast, hanging out in the man cave. Your girl, Kimmy B. We've got...
And Lenny.
and Lenny, the birthday boy. And a very special guest today, the one, the only, the comedian extraordinaire, Brittany Brave.
Hello. Hola. Bienvenido. Hi. Happy to be here.
I'm so happy that we finally got you here in the man cave, Brittany.
Me too.
Little backstory. I got the opportunity to have Brittany on my radio show. Like probably a year ago.
Over a year ago now, yeah.
Middle of the pandemic, it was like one of the first events that was actually going to be like live in Miami. And I absolutely fell in love with this girl. She's so real, super authentic, funny as
Cute.
And she's a cutie patootie.
Yeah, she's
Thank
cute.
you.
What I think a lot of people would call fun size. She's
Bites
like
it.
tiny.
Oh, what I get called spinner is
You're
what I
spinner.
get called.
Yes, you are a spinner.
Or fun size to keep
Yes.
it clean.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but it's just good to have an actual funny person. Lenny and I think we're funny, but I'm glad that we actually have a funny person. Lenny, are you upset with me for saying that we think we're funny?
Oh no, Lenny hates me.
No, that's your opinion.
Lenny,
Lenny
That has
like,
nothing
I
to
know
do
I'm
with me.
funny. Yeah.
keep telling yourself that, Len.
Whatever.
You keep telling yourself that.
If I make myself laugh, I'm good.
Right?
That's
You are
it.
all that matters.
That's what I tell myself every night when I bomb. I'm like, well, I thought what I did was phenomenal.
right. Pat myself. on the
I
back.
love my jokes. Thank you. Yes.
People don't know comedy.
No,
right?
exactly. I'm a comedian. Yes.
So, Brittany, go ahead and give folks a little bit of backstory. How do you get into comedy?
Yeah.
What does that look like? Like, did you give up a big corporate America job? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, all of that trauma in corporate America, baby. That's how you get into it. No, it's a nice little blend of both of those things. No, I did. My entire life, I've been performing in some capacity. Like I was dancer, actress, did improv, all that kind of stuff. And then I was doing improv and sketch comedy. And the funny thing is, I had sworn off stand up. I was like, stand-up is not for me. I'm not doing it. And like friends, improvisers were like, you really should move over to the dark side. Like stand-up is the dark side where something went wrong and improv is the fun, yes and side or whatever. And I was always doing comedy on the side. I had a big snoozy corporate job working PR and doing PR for bands and stuff like that. And that combined with a traumatic relationship and a bunch of other mistakes. And then all of a sudden I was like, reality check, what do I want to do with my life? So threw it all away, went balls to the wall with comedy, and now here we are 3 years in, full time. So doing it.
Full time, does this mean it's paying the bills?
Well, full-time focus, part-time payment. Part-time, still have an OnlyFans, still sell my panties on OfferUp, you know?
Good.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever it takes.
Listen, comedy, as long as I write a joke about it, then it's still comedy, right?
Absolutely.
It still comes back.
I was just creating content.
Exactly. I was writing. I was producing. For the most part, there's still a couple side hustles, but honestly, 2020 was the year that I was going to try to pay all of my bills through comedy. I was in New York. I was a comic up there.
Yeah, that didn't age well, did
That
it?
didn't age well.
That vision board got thrown out.
Literally, yeah, Miss Rona was like, I think not. Maybe back to virtual PR.
But what were you promoting?
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I was like, what are you? Some people, musicians were like, I'm releasing an album from my bedroom. I was just like,
How many people can you get on a Zoom comedy show,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. R.I.P. Zoom comedy. Hopefully forever. So funny. I did Zoom comedy one time.
They tried it.
I'm sure they did.
You know what? I don't want to hate because we actually made we made a decent amount of money through Zoom comedy. And at the height of quarantine, when people were bored and losing their minds, it was actually the crowds were wonderful, not gonna lie, because people were like stir crazy and like everybody just needed something to do and needed a distraction. So some of those Zoom shows would get packed. And
can you hear them laugh?
Yeah.
Or did you ask them to put their microphones on mute?
So I would always tell them to go off mute. And I'm like, well, God mute you if you're doing something weird. Like one time we had a woman start to garden. That was the weirdest. Garden. And I mean, we know people that have jerked off on Zoom things. And this was weirder. I was hearing pots clanking and she was like, Tony, get the chrysanthemums. Like we were like, what is going on?
Was her grandchild performing? Is that how she got like
I have
into this? Was it like Like,
I have no idea. She might not have even known she was on a Zoom call, honestly. I have no idea. And it was like packed, so we were going through pages of like a Zoom.
trying to figure out who
Like,
it was.
who the fuck is, like, what is going on? So, yeah, you know what? All things considered, Zoom is Zoom.
How was the energy on the Zoom meeting for you?
Like, during that specific one?
Or during a Zoom comedy
show.
How was the energy for you compared to an audience?
Well, okay.
I'm just curious because we had this conversation.
Yeah.
We had this conversation about business.
About meetings, but that's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
That's
It's
your meeting place.
Yeah, I will say this: you can kill on Zoom and you can bomb on Zoom. I will say that I have done both. I have seen both happen. Nothing compares to the real thing. You know what I mean? But it's like, I don't know, like then sometimes like the audiences were really receptive and like they're home and there's no outside noise or there's not a bar in the background or something like that, you know? So I don't know, it's a little bit of both.
But I guess like it's also kind of like being at the Improv or at a comedy club. Like if you're doing it and a waiter drops an entire tray of glasses, it's kind of like if the dog starts barking like, hey.
It's all the same.
Get your husband to shut up, please. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like what do you have to kind of try to make it a part of
You always make it a
act?
part of. Yeah, you always have to call it out. And then I usually like to embarrass them and be like, who hurt you as a child that's making you behave this way right now during a comedy show?
what did you say to Helen who was guarding?
Right, yeah, right.
Well, listen,
What do you say to Grandma
this
Helen?
brings up
Poor
my
Helen.
thing. So you bring your audience into your show.
Yeah, I always do. I'm a super interactive comic. I love crowd work. I love when they're involved. It becomes like a damn town hall meeting. My
So
friends. Like
right
it's
before
just
you
like,
walked
yeah.
in, I was telling them a story.
Yeah.
That I bought front row tickets to Lisa Lampanelli.
Love her.
Front row, right?
Yeah, love her.
There's, I don't know,
'Cause one's a sadist.
25 people in the front row, me, my wife, a bunch of characters, and then second row. She literally chewed up everybody in the first and second row. Didn't say one word to me and my wife.
That's so interesting.
It was quite fucking embarrassing.
Really? Oh, why?
I-
Because she didn't
wanted
say
it that
something?
way.
Yeah, she didn't say one word.
wanted it.
See, I would
Listen, out of 40 people, she didn't say one word to us. That's peculiar.
You know, maybe she saw that you were engaged. I don't know. Like, sometimes I don't. If I think that they're, like, genuinely there for me and really engaged, I won't do it. I only just call out things that
But, you
serve
know,
me, honestly, that I need to call out kind of thing.
yeah, she
So-
worked the whole entire crowd except us.
Yeah, because I would have thought when you said front row Lisa Lampanelli, I was like, oh, man, you went home and cried yourself to sleep.
No,
She
I mean,
ripped
we
you
were
up,
too
but, like,
fucking ordinary, I guess. You know, we were just a married couple sitting in the front row.
Either that or
You know,
maybe
like what? You know, I mean, not even what are you guys doing? Trying to have date night or some shit? Nothing.
maybe Rachel was sending some sort of like female to like
She was waiting for it too.
she wanted it to
That's so funny.
It's funny.
I would say too normal. I would say just nothing presented itself, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No.
Like if you see well-behaved audience members that are engaged and look like they're really there for you in the show, sometimes it's like, do not touch. Like, do not break anything. Like, that's how I feel. And then it's the assholes, or if there's anything obvious about
Yeah.
you, it has to be called out.
Yeah, we had Jersey Shore sitting next to us.
Oh.
You know, some Chinese kid over here, some whatever.
Forget
You know,
it.
She chewed. I literally first and second row. She chewed everybody up on us.
And
I love
what's she
that.
gonna say? And look at this normal happy ass Mary.
Exactly. Why couldn't you just fucking say that?
Well, fuck you.
She's like, look at
you
these,
for living the American dream.
look at these two that are like missionary if it were a couple. Like, yeah.
That would have been perfect.
Now
I
you
would have
know.
enjoyed that.
Now you're getting.
I would have enjoyed that.
You didn't need to spend all that money on Lisa Lampanelli. You could have
You
just
got it right here, Brittany Brave,
Listen,
baby.
I'm bringing it back.
Alliteration and everything. Okay, makes us meaner. Yeah.
That's so funny. But no, as a comic, I guess that's a good question though. Then, like, what would make you obviously pick, like you said? So it's like either there's something super obvious, but I think even like the normal, like,
Yeah,
I was joking and saying I'm the person that probably gives off the "please don't come for me" vibes.
Really?
Like, please don't come for me, which means you're.
But that's a
automatic-
fucking target. Yeah.
You're immediately
Yeah,
gonna,
I said, I'm
yeah.
that way, like I hate snakes, and you know how like there's always that idiot on like Ocean Drive,
Yeah.
or on a boardwalk with a big ass 9-foot boa constrictor.
Yeah, and you're like, find a new
And I'm-
accessory.
I'm
Yeah,
the
yeah.
person that's like running onto the beach, turning around, and so they automatically see that, and I'm
Yeah.
like, ha ha,
Yeah.
come here, pretty lady, let me show you my snake. And it's
Yeah.
like, I will kill you. Like,
Yeah.
your snake and anything else you. Come
Yeah, like, don't know. I'm not inviting this.
I
Yeah.
feel like I'm that,
Yeah.
Like I feel like I give off that vibe.
Yeah, that'll probably draw attention to it.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of
Usually.
comedians though, so like I'm not,
No.
I'm not
like
too bad, but I usually sit in the back too. Like I don't play. Like I don't need to be up front. I'm okay. Thank you very much.
I usually say, I will say that if you are sitting up front, you are in the proverbial splash zone at a comedy show.
Yes.
So just be prepared to even just have things addressed. Like I've never understood people that sit in the front row and have a piss ass attitude. Like I'm like, go take a seat in the back. Like as you're at a comedy show, you know? And it's like,
why are you here?
why are you? Oh, well, I mean, we encounter that all the time. Like I would actually rather at this point a rowdy Miami crowd that at least gives me something to like work with than somebody who's sitting there and it's like, did you lose a bet? Like, is that why you're here? Like, why, you know, because it's baffling to us. Like, I just had it the other night, like on my show on South Beach. It was like a group of moms and they traveled 14 deep. They got there an hour before the show started. They were dressed up and I was like, they're either going to be amazing.
White Zinfandel? Were they drinking
and
like white
Moscato. And then we give out free shots at my show. And then they were like, well, what's in the shots? I'm worried about my sugar intake. I'm like, then you shouldn't be drinking, asshole. Like,
it's a skinny margarita shot because if it's
right. When I saw that and I saw that walk in and they're like, we're here for comedy night. We're so ready. It's like mom's night out. And I was like, they're either going to be amazing or they are going to be a nightmare. And they were a nightmare. They were just like stiff, didn't laugh at anything. And I'm like, you guys can go home. Just like leave. Like it was so bad. Yeah. Because it was like one side of the room was amazing and all the comedians were killing with that side of the crowd. And then they took up the other side and they were just like,
like you know what the deal with those moms
with
are?
Painting with a twist next time.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
The deal with those moms
wait a
is
minute.
their husbands are at the strip club.
Oh.
That's the deal with those moms.
Yeah.
They're not getting it.
And having sex with everybody but them. But
Yeah.
Or they got a disturbing video on the ring cam.
Do you know what's so funny? When you say painting and wine, there was a paint and wine class happening at the eatery that I do it at Lincoln Eatery on the beach. It's a monthly show. And it was happening in the eatery in a separate area. And I swear to God, at one point I was like, are you guys sure you got lost on the way to the paint and sip? like seriously. Are you sure? Like
should have made a left back
should have
there.
made
at the
a
gift
left
shop.
back there. But it happens and you just got to meet them where it's all love. Like I see comedians that are mean and do it and it's got to be mean, but it's got to be like, you know, like tough love mean. It's got to come from a place of love.
Well,
Then I think it's fair.
From that, like, did you go home after that and go, the next time I see the mom squad walk in, like I need to be prepared.
Oh, I ripped them apart in the most loving way. And like I even cracked them. I finally got them like nobody else did, but it was also my show so I felt comfortable to do it. But I went in and I just like cracked them and then like two of them got up and left early and I was like I would rather you leave. I made some joke that I was like I would rather tell my mom I need to have an abortion again before trying to make either of you laugh. And then they were like and I was like hasta luego. Like, I was like bye. Because when they're like that, I'm like, oh, get them. I want to make them uncomfortable now. Now I want to like,
And all eyes are on them. Did the rest of the crowd laugh?
Loved it. Like everybody, and then they all eventually left. I also went up like at the end and they finally left. And then I was like, can everybody agree that the show just actually got started? And people went like, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, crazy. Because it was just like the elephant in the room. Like everybody was doing so well and they all were just like, absolutely not.
Is that the one that we'll have to get into that? Okay.
Yeah.
So, Brittany, how many years now?
3 years full time, but like 15 doing improv and sketch and stuff like that.
So
But,
you
like,
started when you were like 8?
I started in like middle school, honestly. Yeah, improv, theater, all that kind of stuff. I did it all throughout high school, studied it in college, all of that stuff. Did UCB, all of it. And then
Question, why do they call the improv?
no idea.
If the improv
Does not do improv.
do you know what I'm saying?
I do not know. I've always
Because
yeah.
you just said stand up is the dark side. Like they're two very
They're very different.
things.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very different, and it's like West Side Story, and it's so stupid when comedians make it like a it's
The Jets versus the Sharks.
truly is. And then like stand up is like, oh, those improvisers are pussies, they're not funny. And then all the improvisers are like, stand ups are mean or whatever. Like, meh. And then I'm in the middle, like I'm like mediating a divorced family. Like I'm like, you could be both. I'm in this like weird
You're Tony and Maria.
literally, I'm in like a flamboyant Venn diagram over here. I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know. I guess just because improv is associated with comedy, but I have no
Gotcha.
idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
Because the improvs are really focused. I know that there are improv clubs in other cities, like where
Yes.
like a lot of like the SNL cast has gotten started.
yes, and
stuff
those
like
aren't
that.
even named improv. Like they're like UCB, Pitt, Second City, IO, like improvs in the acronym and stuff like
Gotcha.
that. I don't know. That's a good question. Because I've never seen improv at an improv. I haven't.
Do you think that improvers are better stand-up comedians? Like if you have the
1,000%. Yeah. For me, it's if you're going to be a professional at your craft, why wouldn't you try to add as many tools to your tool belt as possible, even if it's not your main thing. It's not my main thing anymore. I don't really do improv anymore, but I'm super grateful for all the years doing it, because when I started stand-up, I kind of had this like leg up a little bit. Like I was like, well, I'm comfortable on stage and I know what's funny and I have like timing. Now I just have to figure out joke writing and like what I want to talk about. Yeah, so 1,000%. You can tell people who are improvisers because they're just natural on stage. They're quicker. They're like, yeah.
Well, I was gonna say also when somebody heckles or when somebody participates in the you know in what's happening, that's more of an improv skill. Being able to be quick and reply to it immediately.
You need it. You need some of that. You have to have that background if you're going to be on stage.
We call it an improv. It would be called a gift and stuff like that, or how like there's no such thing as a mistake, and you just get really like you get trained in improv to take everything as a gift and figure out a way to work it in. So then when you start stand up, like getting heckled now is like people are like, "Don't you hate it?" And you're like, "Yeah, obviously." Like if it's persistent or it's taking away from the show, but if you're a good comic, you're like, "I'm gonna now make you a part. You're going to now work for me and set me up for success," kind of thing. You know, you don't look at it as setting you back. You're like, okay, this is now a part of the show. And
Have you ever seen a comedian get really taken aback by the heckling? Like just lose it, like lose the audience, lose their set?
Yeah, I've looked in the mirror. I've done it. Yeah. We all have nights where it's annoying and it's frustrating. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, it's fun and you can kind of manage it, but you have those nights when they're drunk or they're mean. Like I've had mean hecklers, you know, and that to me is heckling when they're mean. Like if they're just drunk and having a good time and like, yes, queen, I agree. Yes. And you're like, okay, like whatever. But at least they're nice, you know. And then I've had hecklers that are like I've had people like somebody yelled at me in the back of the room, like, you look like a fucking kid, like, or something. But I do, I'm tiny. But I was like, do you have Tourette's? Like, what's going on? Like, I was like, what's wrong? Like, I had to like go back. Like, it's mean, but we lose it every now and again. We do.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
You write all your own material.
Yeah.
So this goes to where we're going with this. How much does political correctness feed into your material, into your writing style?
Yeah. I don't think I think about it. To be totally
you.
Good.
Yeah. I don't think so. I believe that if it happened to you and it's true to you, then it's like fair game to talk about. And I mean, okay, I'm going to take a step back from political correctness for a second and think like, I definitely don't want my material to ever hurt somebody. You know what I mean? I'm not out here to hurt anybody, or we call it punching up in comedy, which is when like you take a tough topic and it's okay to talk about it. You just punch up. You never punch down, you know, like even me saying to that heckler, do you have Tourette's, is punching down. Like it is. But I don't think I think of political correctness. I just think more so of like, am I saying this in the right way? That's true to me. I don't care if it offends people. I just want to make sure it's not mean-spirited. You know what I mean? If you get uncomfortable and you're offended by it and you don't like it, that's your problem and you have to go home and like sit with that. I don't care about that. So I guess if that makes any sense. I don't
it
think,
absolutely does.
Am I going to get canceled? I'm like, no, I just think this is funny and it's real to me. And yeah.
Well, like I said, when I met Brittany, I think her team or somebody that knew you had reached out and like, hey, do you want to have this comic on the show? And we had her on through literally like a Zoom,
like Facebook, through
our Facebook Live, because at the time it was just really difficult to connect people other ways. So she was incredible. But then when I was watching like her Instagram, I started realizing that some of her material, not even some, I mean a lot of her material is extremely personal. Like she talks about her, you know, experience with domestic violence, and you know that's one of those things that you and I discuss all the time. Whether it's our friend Julia, who's this incredibly, you know, gifted kind of, you know, car girl. She also teaches flying. Yeah. Like she's a certified flight instructor, but people come for her in the comments on her Instagram all the time talking about, you know, it'd be so cool, you know, that you're a flight instructor, but, you know, you had to dress half naked and now you've completely minimized, you know, the importance of what you're talking about.
You're setting us all back.
And it's so ridiculous, but I couldn't help but think I can only imagine what Brittany goes through, you know, because a lot of people are just not comfortable with the subject of domestic violence.
I mean, eventually somebody's going to watch our podcast and they're going to come after us.
Of course they are. Yeah, I'm waiting.
I can't wait.
No, somebody actually, we're gonna get into your thing. Somebody tried to the other day in one of the pieces that we posted on TikTok. I was talking about how clothing companies keep changing the sizes. They keep making their clothes bigger instead of increasing the amount of sizes. So one day you order a medium,
now it's a large.
Next time you order a medium, it's massive.
Yeah.
And you're like, like I didn't lose any weight.
She's going from 6 to 8 to 10 to 12.
Yeah,
me. Hopefully, I'm at a cool 10.5 right now. Yeah.
You understand what but it's literally to make their customer feel smaller, right? Like it's because instead of acknowledging the fact that maybe you should be wearing a XXX, you're only
it's
an
like
XL
placating.
Yes, it's marketing.
Yeah.
It's marketing 101
But
because
it's frustrating.
Yeah.
if you go to Lululemon and you fit in a large, but everything else you go to
athletics is a medium.
extra large,
I'm gonna say something that's gonna get.
you're gonna pick Lululemon
so
because
you
you're
know-
only a large in Lululemon.
So it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Hello?
Fuck yeah.
You know what I mean? And I joked on our podcast. I was like these are a medium and they should probably be a large. So
Right.
but
That would
maybe
be like me
fancy
buying a
to get-
32B and they just keep making it smaller, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm busting out of it.
Yes, exactly.
Oh
God, my boobs
where did this come from?
Thank God.
Finally, I have tits.
Yeah. That is exactly what
That's what I said when I was pregnant. Okay, no, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Hashtag canceled. No. Okay,
So we posted one of these clips on TikTok, and it was just me saying, like, basically pleading with American, apparel makers.
Oh God.
Stop.
Yeah.
Adjusting your sizes
Yeah.
to make your clients, there's accountability that has to happen here.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like, I want to know when I order something that it's always, that's the convenience factor to me. It's just got to be the same size. Like,
Right, of course.
and if I have to go up, then that's a different situation. Like, I have to own that.
Yeah.
But don't just make the medium bigger.
just to make them
make
feel better. It's not. Yeah.
Well, I got tagged, and I didn't know why the girl had done it. She tagged this other girl on TikTok.
Who I'm
and-
sure was like fat and body
No.
positive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And is known for dragging misogynistic, like, buffoon men, right? Like, this is what she does. So this
Thank
little
God.
girl,
Which is exactly
your
what you
number.
are, by the way. I mean, I look at you, Kimmy, and I'm like misogynistic
I am
man.
a misogynistic man.
I mean, hello.
in an
Yeah.
ambitious, in an ambitious body.
Yeah. Right.
But my point is, I was like, I wondered who it was, me, because I'm one of those people on social media. I like to click. If you tag somebody, I want to know why you're tagging that person. Like, oh, like, do you think they're going to like the content or whatever?
I do too. I do that on my stand-up
She
clips.
wanted me to get dragged.
Yeah.
This little girl wanted this chick who has millions of followers to see this clip and basically either stitch it or duet it,
Yeah. And just like rip you apart.
Good.
And I was
That's what
like-
we need.
But it didn't happen. And I was like, I don't think the girl is going to do it to a girl. And on top of that, I wasn't saying it to come after women or men. I
No.
was saying it as a whole. And if you look at me, it's not like I'm some,
Yeah.
mean girl model. Like, I'm not a tiny person. Like, I was,
Yeah, like
fine with
consider
that.
the source. Consider the source and
know
the
what I'm saying?
context of it too.
But
yeah.
I was like, oh, she wanted me to get dragged.
Listen, if you
She
gotta
wanted-
turn sideways to walk through a doorway, you probably are not a large. You might have to
I
size
have
up.
to size up.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah. I mean, I got like canceled IRL with a group of girls one time when I was just talking out loud about Lizzo. And I think Lizzo's great and stuff like that. But like, and I think what she has done for body positivity and
Yes,
self-love
love
and
yourself.
confidence,
Yeah.
beautiful. I'm very about that, right? Because like the female figure has been like ripped apart and judged by society for years and years and years. That's not news.
Yep.
And I do think we finally live in a time where there's a type for everybody, there's a body for everybody. I think that's awesome now, right? But I also think I'm not a doctor, but I don't know if that body type is healthy.
That's all I'm saying.
And I had said out loud, like, I don't know if we should really celebrate that. Like, I celebrate the ethos of what she's saying, but like, is she healthy? Like, I don't think we should encourage people to like, that's also not, it's objectively not a healthy body. It's not like, I don't know her
especially not with
history.
heart disease and high blood pressure and diabetes.
Right, and body positivity
things that
isn't
are
like let yourself go,
American.
eat whatever the fuck you want, don't
Yeah.
exercise. It's like, hey, like nobody is going to be quote unquote perfect or is, and there's going to be things about your body that you like more than others, and that's okay. That's what the ethos is, and oh my God, like girls came for me.
Oh, yeah.
And we're like, that's racist, sexist, bah, 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 bah. And I'm like, are you even listening to yourself?
what I'm saying,
We can't like remove logic just because we're caught in our own fucking feelings all the time.
Well,
Sorry.
It also made me, and to your point on that.
I assume I can curse. We're in a man
Yes.
cave, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Most
Say whatever
definitely
you want.
can.
Fuck,
But
fuck,
the
fuck,
other
fuck.
thing-
I say it all the time.
We just might not use that.
I have
as
some
our- as
employees.
our
They're like, I
close-up.
never heard you curse.
Well, it's my night out, baby. Yeah.
It's my birthday.
It's my birthday. I
It's
can do
my
whatever I want.
Hey, I have a shirt that says "fuck off." It's my birthday.
I love it. Why did you wear that today?
I used to
There's a
know-
reason, Kimmy.
when I lived in New York and cab drivers would be taking this is when I was in my early 20s and a particular asshole. Cab drivers would take a while to get me where I was going, and I would be like, it's my birthday. And they're like, what? And I was like, I'm late to my party.
So you get the same cab driver, 2 weeks
Right, and
later,
he's like, no.
I'm going extra slow.
No. I have a twin sister. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah.
I have a twin sister, but we have different birthdays.
Different birthdays.
2022, anything's possible. Anyways, yeah.
There you go. But no, but it made me think, because the girl who tagged this other person.
You could just identify as somebody who has a birthday on that day.
There you go.
But I identify as that basketball in the corner, right?
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
just have to take it to that.
Sorry,
Like,
just
It's my only way to get in the
can
NBA.
Can we go back to this girl though? Because I was like, I really want to have this conversation on the podcast about it, because there's a flip side to this though. Like the fact that this 15-year-old wanted another woman to be dragged publicly by another woman. What does that say about what we're creating moving forward?
Yeah.
Like, what level of cancellation is worse? You understand? Like, you don't think that would have been embarrassing to another female to have a woman call me a fat shamer and a this and
you know
fat
what?
phobic and all of these things, and to make my life miserable. Like, so it's kind of like, okay, mean girl, you're just redirecting your mean girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's
it's
it.
weird.
Yeah, it's all.
She had no
that's-
balls.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about like this whole cancel culture and everything. Well, first off, it's all hypocrisy, because everybody, it's all wrong and you're the problem until it serves me.
100%.
And that goes for everybody. Like we had that so much with the pandemic, you know, all the judgment about, and like whatever, however people say, but like I remember it was judgment about leaving the house, masks, vax, all of this stuff. But I'm like, everybody has bent the rules in some way, shape,
Their
or
needs.
form. Like I had people that were like giving me shit because when things were opening up, I was going back to New York to visit because I still had an apartment up there. They were like, well, you're going back and forth. I'm like, but I'm getting tested. I'm negative. I wear my mask. I distance. Travel is open. But then those same people are like still on the dating apps and going out and like fucking complete strangers in the middle of a pandemic. And I'm like, so you can bend the rules when it works for you.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, and there's just that's probably why she didn't tag you, because that girl was at least smart enough to be, or didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Was smart enough to be like, I could, but that goes against everything that I'm trying to.
It was,
Yeah.
and that's why I think, and not only that, it didn't have enough. Although actually, the clip has like close to 200,000 views. It's that clip that I'm talking about. So with that being said, I think it would have garnered enough, but it wasn't like a bunch of people tagged her in it, so maybe she would have.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, like, what makes me laugh is when we cancel people for saying hurtful, harmful, hateful things, the comments that the cancelers then leave
Or worse.
Are way worse.
Go kill
Way
yourself.
worse.
You don't deserve to, like, it's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
That's why I don't pay any attention to any of that shit.
but again, it's crazy to think, because for younger kids that are growing up in this, like, because this same young girl was on there talking about somebody, like she was saying, the kind of person you are if you wear certain things, right? Now, again, very 15-year-old, very 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And she's like, do you remember the Fila sneakers?
Yeah,
With the
yeah.
big bottom. If you wear these, you're annoying. You've been trying to convince people since 2019 that these are cool. And I'm like, so basically, you're
You're dragging people
who are
too.
you trying to make feel bad about themselves?
Also-
Because you know how many people are wearing these sneakers? Like,
Also, you're 15, which is hilarious.
But this is where their mental is at.
Yeah, yeah.
Want to grow up. Like, like we had
Yes.
mean girls too, and I knew a lot of them, and I rolled with a lot of them. But it's a different level now.
It's
the way
it's
that
like
they
it's
attack
mean girl
is different.
training. It's not even. I mean, you've met my kids.
Yes.
My daughter could probably, they skate on that. They fight with that.
Yeah.
My kids are good kids, but they fight with that.
We fight dirty.
With that mean teenage thing, because their friends might necessarily be like that. Not all of them, but some of them. So, I'm like, and even Joey, the youngest, I'm like, you don't have to side with these guys. You don't have to be an asshole.
Yeah.
Just because your dad's an asshole,
Yeah.
you don't have to be an asshole.
As I say, as I do.
Yeah. And it's also, well, and I can't speak to, obviously I'm a girl and I can't speak to like the other, or raising kids, but I think every girl has gone through a mean girl phase.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like I did too. I'm sure you did. Like, you know, like I think every girl goes through a mean girl phase. And I think, at least from a female perspective, not to make it a thing, but like I said, I'm not a dude, so I can't necessarily speak to that. But from a female perspective, I think you either graduate from it or you don't. And I also think it's how society makes us, girls start to think that mean is strong, or mean is cool, or mean is popular. And it's like overcompensation. And then I think as you get older, you mature, you kind of round out your personality and self-confidence and self and stuff. You realize that like mean is real weak. Mm-hmm. This shit is not really a competition. It's easier to be on when I win, you win, everybody wins. But some people never outgrow that. And I blame social media now because we're all so important now on social media. Like some loser in a basement in Omaha like tweets something and gets 100,000 likes, and now he thinks he's like king of the world. And like he might not even be educated, know what he's talking about, but that's the power of social media.
Yeah.
Likes,
Look at, what's his
engagement.
name? Tattoo face. Takeshi.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, instant. Boom.
Yeah.
Where's he now?
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
Ghost.
Well,
The
according to him, he's
today,
still got long.
today's
Yeah.
social media kids don't even know who he is.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Already
like,
old
Well,
news.
but
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
That they're setting these young people up
Yeah.
for a very hard next 70 years.
Yeah, I agree.
Peak at 18. I make this joke all the time. I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't peak in high school.
Me too. I say
So
that all the
glad
time.
I wasn't, the prettiest in high school. I'm so glad I wasn't the most
Nope.
popular in high school. I'm so glad about those things because I was friends with all of those people.
Yeah.
Sorry if you're watching this. But that was the best time of their life.
Yes.
Like when I
yeah, well, you look at prom queen and prom king now, bald, fat, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's where they go.
I was like you too. Like I say that all the time. Like, and I really do think like it's talked about, but it's so true. That's where you have to foster like integrity and character and personality, because I wasn't hot. I wasn't cool. I wasn't any of those things. And I was just in the corner like, but I think I'm funny. Like, like, and I'm smart. I get good grades. And then my mom's like, that's what's going to matter. Like, that's what's going to matter. And now at 31, I'm like, that's what mattered. Like, that's why I am where I am. And like, I joke about it in my act. Like I have a long story about going through puberty and something funny that happened when I first went to the gynecologist. And I kind of open it with like all the girls that had huge boobs immediately in middle school and high school are like on an episode of Cops now. Like getting arrested. Like, and I'm here telling dick jokes for no money. So who's really winning? Like, like it's called a glow up, honey, but yeah, you're right.
all
Like,
about perspective.
yeah, I agree. I also read an article that those TikTok stars or Gen Z is like not having as much sex or is not developing sexually and stuff, and whatever is after Gen Z, I don't even know. Just fetus.
They don't fucking talk to
fetus.
people in
They're
person.
zygotes.
Yeah, zygote.
They don't talk to people in person.
They're
They
more
don't.
concerned with doing.
Yep.
Although, I can't give a big
That
upstairs.
their social skills are suffering.
After
Their-
the episode, I'll tell you.
I can't wait to hear it. Their social skills are suffering. They're not sexually active in the way that teenagers normally are. They're not dating. They're not like all of these things. And I'm like, yes, because they're living on a phone and they're getting this fake validation. Like, what the hell?
They're
Like,
also.
My grandkids are gonna go to the mall virtually.
No, that's scary. You're talking
Yeah,
about.
I know.
They're gonna live on their couch.
Just make sure that they can come by the ManTFUp man cave.
They are. They're gonna live on their couch.
Can you just
Listen, it's gonna
buy
be
that?
so
it's gonna be
interactive.
this couch.
And so it's gonna be so interactive that they're gonna be able to walk into the store just like they're at the mall.
Are you ready? I didn't realize this. Nike, all of these people have already set up
Oh yeah.
their stores. So basically, instead of buying your real Nikes that you can put on your foot and walk out of your house in, you're going to be dropping the money on the digital avatar version of the new Jordans. And I was like, somebody was talking to me about it yesterday. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, no, I want to be able to touch and feel my investment.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
What do you mean?
You mean you're not a big NFT person?
NFT, UTI. Yeah. I have
What are
both.
the other
Yeah.
letters? All
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
Can I get An NFT of a UTI?
Yeah.
Can we put
If I could get an NFT of every time I've had a UTI, I'd like Elon Musk move the hell over. Okay, or whoever. Yeah.
be selling those in the metaverse?
How many different shades have you had?
Because you know
Too many.
why? Because people are not going to be sexually active
Yeah.
in the metaverse, so they're never going to get to experience things like that. So somebody will find a way to sell you those things. Oh, what? You never got chlamydia? Here you go.
Here you go. Now you can see
kids will
what
have
it's
you
like.
have it. Experience it in the metaverse.
Right. That's so funny. Like I've never had an STD, but I'm so curious how it is. And it's like, walk through this door. Yeah. Things will start to itch.
And then, and then when you unplug, you leave it. Right? Like, take your headset off. And
Cured.
You're good to
You
go.
want an antibiotic? Look up. Like, that's what it feels like.
That's where we're headed.
Yeah.
Crazy. But
You know, I instill in my kids, hey, you have to talk to people. You have to, my daughter's still very shy, but I'm like, you want me to take you to the store? You're getting out of the fucking car and going in.
Yeah.
And you're doing the shopping, and you're gonna, you want to buy stuff, go. You're gonna interact with the fucking people.
Good for you. I'm resisting all of this change. Like, I mean, I don't plan to be a mom for a long while, like a couple more years, but like, and I can only assume that technology in the future is going to be even weirder and even more advanced. My kids, I will be like, iPad out of they're not going to have an iPad or a VR. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be like, sit at the damn dinner table.
have a conversation.
Go say hi to people.
I tried that. I tried that. We tried they didn't get phones till they were about 10, 11.
That's
I think
so
that-
wild.
It's
They
still-
get iPhones?
Of course,
Of
because
course they do. But
iPhones
also they
existed.
get
A flip phone.
You know.
Oh.
Numbers programs.
Or the Nokia brick.
Yes.
Yeah, good
Like,
luck
you
with that.
sit down and busy yourself playing Snake
listen.
for 6 hours.
But
a
we
weapon.
still
Yeah.
forced. Yeah.
When the stranger
I
danger
played
comes,
Pong. Okay.
Yeah.
Ting.
Me outside of Dolphin
Ting.
Mall. My mom's like, what if you get in trouble? I'm like, Mom, I have a literal weapon on my hands. Yeah, like,
My
boink.
phone weighs 10 pounds. I'm good.
Yeah, then run over, grab the phone, call Mom. I need a ride. Yeah.
She's one of the 4 numbers that's programmed. By the way, that you
I
have
need a
access
ride.
to.
Yeah.
But you gave them phone. But
Yeah, they have phones,
you
but
think that's late is wild to me. Like, because we
It is late. It is late.
Yeah.
It is. I mean,
That's
you look at
late
I get a
to get an
phone.
iPhone.
look
I
at.
got a phone 13, 14, I think.
Crazy to me.
We got my oldest, who's
Okay.
26, a phone when we moved to this neighborhood where he could go out. Because up until 10 years old, he was kind of locked in a cage with us. We lived in this building, and it had a fence, and he couldn't wander outside the fence. We bought a house in this neighborhood. All of a sudden, there's 12 kids his age on the street.
Yeah.
All boys. They go running around. Da, 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 da. Got him a
I
phone
love that they did that though.
because I'm not going outside and fucking whistling. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
The street lights are on. It's time for dinner.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
that's why we got him a phone. But that was 05. So it wasn't an iPhone
No.
because iPhones didn't come out till 07. So it was a flip.
But like, imagine, and this is before Brittany's time, but your parents experienced this when you would go out with your friends.
Nobody ever fucking looked for me.
But I'm just. but they couldn't, if you didn't call, like there was no way to get in touch with you. Like,
No.
Your parents just,
No.
you were
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm going to like. 'Cause for me, I grew up.
Hello, we didn't have emojis. We had 143 or, I had a beeper. I told you.
I'm talking about being a kid. Like I'm talking about like when I was 9, 10, 11 years old, and I grew up in this like. In the sticks, sort of,
Mm-hmm.
right? But like, if it was summertime and I wasn't in summer camp, it'd be jump on the bike. Both of my parents worked. My stepdad was a pilot, so he'd be gone for days at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Get on the bike, go down to the corner where my best friends lived.
Yeah.
They'd meet up. We'd go to like this little country store that we had.
Yeah.
It had been owned by the same family for
Years and years. Yeah.
and then we go to this place called the Country Whip where you get your soft serve ice cream. But we'd be out for 8 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
There
like,
was
if
no
I-
way to find you.
No.
There was no
But
way
my mother
to,
was
yeah.
out here calling the cops, like, oh my God, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't
Well,
seen my kid in 10 minutes.
Yeah, literally. And it's like, well, do you think even too when it comes to like child rearing and parenting and stuff, because we didn't have that access, like I think maybe what it did is forced our parents to like instill values in us a little bit more or responsibility.
I
or
would
something.
stay out till whenever when I was a kid.
You had a different, like you're.
I grew up in Dade County.
Yeah.
Because it only in Dade. No,
Yeah.
but it was, it was a totally different time. It's crazy. And I encourage Joey, get on your bicycle and ride to your fucking friend's
Yeah.
house.
Well, especially because where you live now, you can do that.
Yeah.
Like, you
I mean,
live in an area
you can
where
do it
bike
anywhere.
ride-
I grew up where Aventura Mall is. I literally rode my mini
I
bike.
don't recommend children riding their bikes.
Yeah, at all,
Literally-
period. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because.
I literally rode my motorcycle on the dirt that Aventura mall is built on. It wasn't there. It's been there since '83.
But Lenny, you have parents now that going outside, what?
Yeah.
Summer camp, what? Like,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
It's
They
so-
prefer their child is locked in their bedroom.
This goes again to
Sad.
this is the internet's fault. This is the internet's fault. And we had
Yeah.
this conversation about, now everything that's going on in the world.
Okay, I got that.
So when we grew up, we had all this stuff always happened.
Yeah.
Always. There was always
Kidnappings, trafficking,
everything.
yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
I had this conversation yesterday with Jerry about John Walsh. That whole thing happened on Hollywood Boulevard
Yeah.
at a normal mall across the street from a police station.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that, it's always happened.
Yeah.
But you know what? When that happened, only Broward County knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Dade.
Yeah.
It didn't go anywhere else.
You only knew what was relevant to you. What you
Yes.
needed to know what was around you. That's so true that we know everything.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you know everything, you're gonna know.
You're paranoid.
You're gonna be paranoid. People aren't reporting on like, man does nice random act of kindness for a woman today in a coffee
Florida
shop.
man
The
slapped-
neighbor shoveled your snow.
Yeah.
No.
Guy running around with a machete. Yeah, just killing people. Yeah, that's so true. And it's like, yeah, that fosters paranoia. Well, and also the internet is a perfect example of like, my mom has always said, and it's one of my favorite sayings, like she's like, everything in moderation, including moderation. And I think that goes for like, for my personal beliefs, like alcohol, like fun, work, everything. And like, I think the internet, like people are like, social media is evil, internet's evil, all this. I'm like, well, it wasn't intended to be used the way we're using it, right? Like, like we're abusing the shit out of it.
It was a tool that was created to bring people together. And even with social media and all of that, that wasn't really.
They thought the light
I
thing
don't
was going
think-
to help spread love. And
Yeah, I don't think Zuckerberg's idea of social media, Facebook, when it first came out, was not as brutal as it is
But
today.
you know what? Though?
No.
It goes back to accountability, right? And we
Oh,
cannot
absolutely.
blame
Yeah.
the internet for what has always intrinsically been in human beings.
Yeah.
Kids have always been evil little pieces of shit. They've always
Yeah.
always had bullies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always gone for the freaking guts. You know what I mean? They've always gone for the jugular. Like,
Yeah.
as a kid, you know exactly what to say.
but if
to
you
your
don't get your
9-year-old
fucking
friend,
ass
they
beat-
can cry.
Yeah.
If you
know.
don't get your ass beat,
Yeah.
you don't know about the fucking world.
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah,
fucking
it's just
simple.
true. Yeah.
Or
The
if there's-
pussification of
But
America.
there's
We've
no
talked
repercussions
about that.
to your-
It's
but again, we're always looking for a scapegoat. We're always looking for something else to blame for our own personal bad behavior. Right?
Well, yeah,
So
that's-
when we talk about Facebook and the wanting to spread positivity,
Mm-hmm.
but we're judgmental people. So we see these photos popping up, and now we're either jealous, so we have to say something
Dragging,
negative,
yeah.
or
Listen,
now,
Yeah.
I've always lived my life by, I don't regret anything that happened to me or that I did in my life because it brought me to where I'm sitting right fucking now.
Yeah.
And, with my kids, it's difficult because they do have this outside influence that's pounding on them daily. But, like I said, I make my kids shake people's hands. I make them look them in the eye. I have no filter in my house. I have no filter, period, around my kid. You didn't even see my truck. But I have no filter around my kids. My daughter is so embarrassed. My truck says "man the fuck up" on the side of it.
I love that. That's
Like-
amazing.
Like 6 feet long.
I love that.
They go to a bougie.
big truck anyway.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's
love
already
that.
a-
They go to a bougie private school.
Yeah.
So-
And you roll up, like, have a great fucking day at school.
and then you
Boing.
put a Mack truck horn on it.
It's and
Yeah.
she gets out of the truck. I'm like, have a great day, honey.
Yeah. But my parents didn't hide anything from me growing up. Like anything. Like, so I respect that. Like that no filter or whatever. Like my mom is like, when you discovered it, we talked to you like you were an adult, whether you were a baby, a teen, or an adult to this day. Like we didn't hide anything from you. We didn't like play anything down to you, play stupid with you. We just found a way to talk to you about it. Honestly, that would make sense.
That's the only thing I
That's
can
the
do
only
to
way.
counter what they are getting fed. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's we talked about my daughter with the mask. It's like I don't
Oh
think
my gosh.
I don't think I've worn a mask since this started.
Yeah.
Except for maybe twice when I had to go in someplace that I couldn't go in without it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
she still wears it, right? And one day we're like,
And
well,
so do I.
I do too, yeah.
But the reasons,
She's not
the
alone.
reasons is what I'm going to. I don't care. You can wear it for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Mine's my outfit.
my daughter's wearing it because she doesn't want people to think that she voted for Trump or that she's a Trump supporter.
That's funny. That's funny.
So,
And
but
it's
that's a
funny that
15-year-old perspective.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I'm sure, like, I can only imagine that kids nowadays in school, some of them, this is all that they've known with like Zoom graduations or Zoom teachers or having to go to school with like.
Thank God we
my
live
friend
in
has
Florida.
a newborn that's like 2 years old and like basically had the baby like at the start of or during the pandemic or something. And she's like, this is all. And her little girl like runs around the house and is like, Mommy, I'm disinfecting and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's so crazy but that's all that kid knows is like masks and paranoia and cleaning and hand sanitizing and all of this stuff.
But you know what? But on the flip side of that, there's
Raising
a kid
freaks.
that comes into school. Don't say that.
Listen.
But there's a kid that comes into school and doesn't wear a mask.
Yeah.
And looks at your daughter and calls her a sheep. And
Yeah.
all the rest of it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
again, and this has nothing to do with their own personal views. That 2-year-old
No.
isn't a freak.
And-
Their mother is, is
No,
out here
I didn't say
raising
the
freaks.
2-year-old is a freak. I said we're raising freaks.
Yes, but what
And that is because kids, we've gone over this, kids learn more in the first 3 years of their life than they do in their entire rest of their
guess what?
life.
Yeah.
But the beauty
So
of it is,
if that's what you're teaching them, that kid is going to be an OCD clean freak. They're not going to touch a doorknob the rest of their fucking life.
yeah.
but that's not, to me, I think what becomes more and more clear to me after, especially doing this podcast and even our college episode last week and the conversation that we had, is that is not necessarily true.
Yeah.
Because that is the beauty of being a human being.
No, I get, yeah, you have the ability to change.
Right? Like you might go, that kid might become the biggest slob on the face of
Yeah.
the earth.
Yeah.
Because they grew up in this sterile
Nature.
It's
odor.
just,
You know what I'm saying?
I can only go by my kids and what we taught them as core values when they were 1 to 3 years old. And they still carry them, and I can still see them in them.
Yeah.
So that's all I
Under
can
your
judge.
Roof too,
Yeah.
is the point
No,
that
but
giving
I'm
you.
just saying those things that they learned at that spot in their life, they still carry through to 26 years old.
Yeah.
And so I can only judge by that. I got 3. I've seen 3, and we were conscious of that first 3 years. So I can only
Very
assume that
different
the
than
rest
other
are
two
going
of
to.
your children.
I see that also makes sense that whatever they're learning that early on in life is just also naturally going to be harder to shake because it's like a little bit like subconscious, right? Like things that we inherit, like how everyone says personality is nature.
There's
or
no
nurture.
1-year-old thinking about why they're doing something.
I see objectively what you're saying, that it's like the things that like I'm sure there's a lot of values that I don't necessarily know where I picked up XYZ, but it probably came from those early years when I was a kid and saw my mom and dad making that a priority, hammering that home, or seeing them exemplify that. But to your point, I just even thought, like, I have gone through so many metamorphoses in my life,
of yourself,
and there's probably going to be 10 more. And that's just what happens is, like, you as a human being grow and evolve, and you change location, jobs, tastes. Shit happens to you. Shit happens in the world. You know what I mean? And I'm living back at home with my parents right now in Kendall. Like, it's the right move for me. Like, I left New York, came back home. My dad's sick, but I'm chilling with them. It's just like, it's all the right, but it's been such a full circle. Like, watching what I thought of the world and myself and them when I grew up in Kendall as a child. You know, I left at 18, went to college, went straight to New York, and now I'm back. It's so like deja vu, and I'm like, how have I changed? What do I think that's different? What are the ways that I disagree with my mom and dad that I once thought they were right blindly because they were mom and dad? And now I'm like, oh, I guess that's just how you live life, and this is how I live life.
Can I tell you something, though? That's
Like-
a testament, though, to how you raise them, and I think how you're raising your kids. If you can become self-aware, that is
My
the
favorite trait in
beauty.
people.
Listen,
That is the beauty
that's
of growth.
That's perfect. But we're talking about a generation. Every
But again,
kid that was
is
born.
on parents. That is on y'all. Like, you don't get to blame it on everything else.
No,
Grab the
I'm
bull
just
by
saying.
the fucking horns and take responsibility for your
Absolutely.
kids and stop pawning it off on what is happening to them on the internet and everything else, because you can't have it both ways.
No,
Like, you
Yeah.
can't
Kimmy,
talk
that's
about what
not-
you're taught by your parents and then blame stuff. I'm not
blaming anybody. I'm saying
talking about a generation of
You have
parents.
you have every 1 and 2-year-old that was born in the last 2 years is
Not if they were
so
born
1,
in your
2,
house.
1, 2, 3 is. But listen, a lot of the people, let's say every person who's wearing a mask in this country that had a baby in the last 3 years has this whole routine. So you're going to have a whole. You're going to have.
Big generalization.
It goes to the same thing. If you're taught hate growing up,
But guess what?
you
Can I
teach
tell you
hate.
something?
You
I
know,
don't
it's
care
if your
if that
kindness.
if that wasn't in who you are, that this pandemic did not do that to you.
I do agree with that.
I
Yeah.
am not a clean.
No, I get
So
that.
I Lysol down my groceries for about a fucking
It's
week.
not
before
adults.
I was like, okay,
I'm not. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I wouldn't have done that. So if I had kids, even if I
Yeah.
didn't like that, like, so this kid's
Maybe.
mom was probably already a cleaner. It's like
I'm
growing
sure.
up in
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
Spanish households where literally the weekends are dedicated to cleaning. You have some
Yeah.
people who clean their kitchen floors on a daily basis.
Oh my
Oh,
God!
I
Oh my
know-
God!
I
The
know
women in my
freaks like
family
that.
vacuum the carpet, and then they're like, "You are not allowed in that room anymore."
Are you Spanish?
Italian.
Italian.
Very Italian. Yeah.
But-
And by the way, I presented that point only to say, not even in a right or wrong, just I was actually more so saying it as like isn't that wild that that's that kid's reality now, even just in an objective sense. Like we grew up, like we're like, what the fuck, like with masks and stuff. And
Yeah.
now that baby is only going to be like, oh yeah, people wear masks. Like they think that's just
Yeah,
normal.
my kids are the same. My kids are generational also. They have a lot of things. They have a lot of things that.
active shooter drills.
Yeah.
I grew up with
well,
active.
I'm
I grew
also
up with-
gonna
I
say-
grew up with fire alarms.
Yeah.
They grew up with
Yeah.
active shooter drills.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we have them at our school, but yeah.
Or even like the vaccine thing, and again, like whatever side people are like, but it's like, the way I personally felt about it was like, who was I to question the vaccine when like I've been vaccinated since as far back as I can remember, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, okay, I'm not anti-vax, obviously, I'm back, you know. So, but it's also true. Like, it's just I will say about accountability and self-awareness, I have noticed a little bit of a lack of that with like the baby boomer generation in general. Like, and I think it's going to come full circle. And I think these Gen Z TikTok knickknacks are going to do the same thing too. Like, my mom and dad are they're in their late 60s, early 70s, as baby boomer as it comes. They take no accountability for anything. And it's like, not no accountability, but like, kids these days, technology, social media, whatever. And I'm like, but this is all conditioning and behavioral patterns that we got from the media we consume, the way we were raised. Like, the problem isn't social media. The problem is the way we respond to society.
Yes. Do you
The
know what
problem
makes
is
me
our
mad
tendency.
about-
I love that you knew the appropriate generation for baby boomer, because that's the other thing that's getting on my nerves.
Well, it's all like,
People not knowing
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
who they're talking about and kind of.
I'll tell you what makes me mad
Yeah.
about technology, or what frustrates me about the kids today,
Yeah.
including my own. They don't realize what they have in their hand. If I, at 18 years old, had that fucking technology in my hand,
God only knows.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
they take it for granted.
Yeah.
And they use it to, show their friends whatever. But it's that right there.
They
If
spend hours
they
generating
could
revenue for
change,
other
they could
people.
literally, this generation could change the world.
Yes, they could.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
If they just realized the power they
Well,
have.
and there's a few of them. There's a few
Yeah,
of them
no, yeah.
that do, and everyone's because people would ask me that, like, aren't you disheartened? Like when I speak at schools, and I'm like, absolutely not, because I know that there's some of them there where they're so much farther advanced
Yeah.
than I ever was in terms of being passionate about a cause or
Yeah.
understanding the scope of something,
Yeah.
or knowing how to. What
Yes.
is that called? Like when you can not galvanize, but when you can get people to come together, like understanding.
It's
like, your
amazing.
point.
Yeah.
The power that you have at
Yeah.
your fingertips.
Well, I mean, we realize people are using that for whatever they want to use it for. That's
But even
being
business-
exploited.
But even business. But,
But-
I'm just saying, when you see kids that have the foresight to start getting actively engaged in the things that they want to see be different, right?
Yeah.
That to me is inspiring, because it took a lot of other people
Absolutely.
a very long time. It takes a lot
Yeah.
of, so we're in our 30s and, I read this book.
Yeah.
And all of a
Yeah.
sudden now you're inspired.
Yeah.
to-
Which I think goes back
Recycle, I don't
to
know.
our point about the actual medium, or some of these things that we love to point blame on are not actually the problem, because you can see those very same mediums being used for good. So it goes back to just like how you approach it, or what your values are, or what your interests are into. There are people using social media to spread hate, and then there are people using it to rally people
But
behind a
even to your
cause.
point,
And
like-
yeah.
Lenny would have had 47 businesses. Like, I can understand what
I
you're
just-
saying. Like, when
yeah,
you're
I
talking
mean-
about the technology and the ease of which.
Fuck. If I wanted to know the
shipping it
definition of a word when I was a kid, I had to
That's so
fucking rifle
funny.
through a fucking stack of books.
Yeah.
When I took my contractor's exam, it was 13 books about 7 feet tall
Yeah.
that you had to. It was a 2-day exam 11 hours a day.
Well, and I also think along with social media and technology and just like the nature of things now, because there's so much. I feel like there's so much more than what was around and existed just in general. I'm talking like ideas, hobbies, concepts, items, products, like everything. There's abundance everywhere. And I think the danger comes in like fetishes, right? Exactly. Like back then it was only missionary. Now you can put it anywhere, you know.
Toe, and you can make money.
You can hang from the ceiling. Ding dong.
Fans page.
You can orgasm in a virtual reality. It's crazy. Anyways, I think that there's things grow and blow up quicker. There's an immediacy now as well too.
Yes.
Because of social media and also just not. Like we just have more resources available to us, more education, more knowledge available to us.
People want it now.
And I think that's like, I also want to like pat our world and society on the back a little bit and give all of us a like slack. Like because of the internet, because of so many things, we've grown so much and so exponentially, things are going to be sloppy. Like, that's why I don't understand, to take it back to cancel culture, like when people are like, well, you misgendered me, you didn't use my pronouns correct, or can you believe this, or this is wrong, or that. And I'm like, how about give people a minute. Like there's a lot happening at a quicker rate than it ever was.
You know what?
Like,
to your point, people are trying to grow as fast as the technology is growing.
And
there is no possible way.
No.
You can't.
I mean, iPhone 1 was 2007. We're on 13. You know, it's like you can't grow that fast.
Well, even when you talk about, even to talk about, like, to make a sports reference, when you talk about athletes, the human body hasn't evolved. The way our muscles are able, you know, with different supplements and things like that. Our bone structure hasn't, though, which is why when you now have these 290-pound, 6% body fat beasts, you know, that are defensive ends,
they're snapping bones,
you know what I mean? And knees are exploding and femurs are snapping, and it takes time. Evolution is exactly that. It's a process.
Yeah.
It takes, and you're
it's
very
also
right.
not linear at all. It's not this like static linear thing. There's a lot of backpedaling, forward motion backpedaling. There's a lot of like, also, and as part of evolution too, in any process, is like sometimes you need to take a second and take a beat. That's part of evolution. That's part of growth. That's part of building something, is like also knowing like, okay, I can also take a pause and like reevaluate before I make a decision of what direction to go in as a person, business, or anything.
That's probably
I mean, if you look at generationally, you know, my grandparents came here from Italy.
Mine too. Yeah.
So, you know, that was 1907 they came here. Mm-hmm. So you look at that first generation, then you go to the second generation with Sinatra and this and that in my family, you know, to me, to my kids.
Yeah.
That is a normal
progression.
Growth. Yeah, progression.
Yeah.
Now my kids are going from 0 to 100 overnight. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's my biggest problem with everything that's going on, and I've discussed this with Kimmy, is if you give someone an inch, they will take a mile.
Oh, yeah.
So do I believe that, you know, okay, if the little homosexual kid's going to get upset because you call him a fag, you know, I get that. That's changing something. But when you empower that for every possible thing, people will take advantage and it will get out of hand. And we've seen it a couple times. We've had a couple examples on the show of it. But, you know, the identifying as a cat kid, you know, the identifying as, you know, so listen, I get it. If you're confused sexually, or you're born different, that's great. Yeah, there's something for that. But to have the ability to say, hey, you know, I identify as a basketball, or I identify as a, you know, I identify as a dick.
I don't even
think because I'm a dick.
we are just now making strides in terms of like trans rights and all of this kind of transitioning. I get that. And stuff.
Like, they're about to roll back LGBTQ rights in the state of Florida if they pass the Don't Say Gay bill. Like, let's be clear, we still have a long way to go with the basic things.
Yes.
Like,
I agree. And I agree about it being a little bit too fast. And just, I'm like, we haven't even like fully given.
That's the stumbling block. Until my parents and my generation is dead, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Well, and you have to be patient. You have
Yeah,
to be
that's
willing
the
to
key.
explain it
Yeah.
without getting angry and trying to cancel somebody.
Yeah, and also you don't need to adopt these changes too, at least socially as well. Like, you know, like it's not, you're not getting left behind. Like my parents are like not the opposite of homophobic. Like they have gay friends. Like they grew up in the 60s and shit like that. Like they're very.
I went to interior design school.
Yeah.
So, you know.
My mom went to cosmetology school. Like she had a whole gay man army behind her. Like, are you kidding? Like they like christened me. Yeah. Like, yeah, basically. So but at that same time, it's like, I also don't think that my mom and my dad are going to adopt like they, them pronouns in their everyday. And I also think it's their choice not to. It's still a relatively new thing. Maybe they don't feel the need to adopt it. It's not that they're trying to purposely misgender or disrespect you, but like these things are new and novel and happening. Also, how do we live in a country where we're pushing that shit, but like Roe versus Wade is still getting like overturned? So we're pushing trans rights, we're removing women's rights to make choices with their body.
I'd like to remind you, we had to fight for Ms. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like MS, period. Like, let's be clear. Like that was a whole thing.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So to both of your points, the fights that are being picked by so many different people with so many different voices are setting back everything.
Because people take it personally too. When they're attacked, not to use your parents, but when they feel attacked for not evolving quick enough, it literally makes a lot of people shut down.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to hear this. This is ridiculous. You're crazy. I'm not. Let's just go back to the old days. Right. And that's a problem. You're actually doing your movement a disservice.
Oh, I'd say that all the time.
It's no different than when you have protests and things go left, right? And people get angry and violent.
Yeah.
And you've got peaceful protesters, they're going, stop acting like assholes, because you're actually you're changing the narrative.
Yeah.
You're making it harder for us to prove our point or to fight for our cause in the right way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like you're skewing the conversation.
Yeah.
And you're actually doing more harm than good.
If you look at all of like the major like political and social progressions that we've made, like the important ones, the positive ones in history, all of those movements were inclusive and welcoming, and also, to your point, took time. Like, and you took time to educate people. You took time to actually have conversations, you know, understand why this was like politically relevant and topical at the time, or why this needed to happen. And it didn't happen overnight. And you know what? No movement is 100%. And that's another thing nowadays.
Yeah. And you need to look at where you started
Yeah.
and what the root causes were of what brought you to here before you can fix them.
100%.
So, you know, women's rights, 1900s, you know, early 1900s, civil rights movement in the 60s. All of that between the 60s and today, no one is looking at what caused this riff.
And we start talking about it too. That's the other problem. Like, if you get your way tomorrow and everybody has to use pronouns, but we don't discuss it, we don't talk about it.
Or why they're important,
why?
or what they mean.
Then you have the angry people that are still behind closed doors, angry and bitter and them, and I'm not doing it.
Yep.
And then you end up in another 50 years right back here with somebody trying to undo all of it because they never got it in the first place.
Roe versus Wade.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. It's exactly the thing. 1974 or something?
Yeah, and if you make things like hard for people to obtain and like hard for them to understand, it's exactly what you said. You're just giving them an out to just shut down and ignore it. And I also think that like this concept of grace is missing from our society. Like we just don't give anybody room to mess up. I think of that as a comedian. Like I had seen when like, I think it was Shane Gillis was getting canceled because of something he said on a podcast like years earlier. And Rob Schneider had come to defend him, and he was like, it was like written in sarcasm, but it was so beautiful. He's like, oh, but of course, an up and coming comedian, how dare you ever have a comedic or creative misfire, that in the process of becoming an artist and a public figure, you made a misstep at some point. My God. And I'm like, that's so true. Like, it's like, if you remove that space for grace and that space for failure, then like, there's no point in doing any of this. at this
Well,
point.
not even that. And now,
There's
as
no
fans,
point.
we demand more from you. We want more from you. You're not even just in your safe space of
Yeah.
being on stage. We expect you to do the podcast. We expect you to do social media.
Yeah.
We expect you to make funny moments happen.
Yeah.
So the likelihood of you misstepping or saying something when you're pumping out so much content
Is 10 times
is
higher.
exponential. Like,
Listen,
Yeah.
it's putting a choker on creativity
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form, and on, freedom of speech in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I think that's why it's going back. It's a boomerang, or I think actually even more so, it's like a rubber band. Where like as a society, we just stretched it so far,
And it snapped.
and now it snapped, and that's why it's like. I think like Chappelle has always been like the leader of the pack with this, and when people are like he's canceled, I was like, get the fuck out of here! Like he is like the smartest, most brilliant, funniest human being, and just because you didn't like what he said,
Don't watch them.
don't watch him. That is literally his job, And it's like, again, the more you put all creatives and people under a pressure cooker, it's all you're gonna do is add to it like exploding in a sense,
well, I had that on the show prep for you when you came in because I didn't realize that Steve Harvey has a new show coming out.
Oh, does he? Yeah, yeah.
It's like some Judge TV, very very friendly.
Judge Judy, but
Yeah,
with him.
but with him. And so
Oh,
it's being
funny. Oh, yeah,
But
okay.
Steve is a mainstream TV guy.
Yeah.
And so they asked him, would you ever do another comedy special? And he said, not until I'm ready to retire. And he's
Yeah.
he said, and I'd have to title it, well, this is it. Because the likelihood of me getting up there and doing a great special is going to get me canceled.
Yeah.
He said, if you are sponsorship based, you cannot do stand-up comedy. He
Yeah.
said, Chappelle can do it because Chappelle is subscription based.
Yeah.
Right? Like Netflix can decide all on their own. There's no sponsors on Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix describes or decides what they want to produce.
Yeah.
And as much as their own team was outraged
Yeah.
over the last special and the trans controversy, they were like, he wins for us, so he's staying.
Yeah.
He's
And not only
staying.
is he staying, but he's opening up our inaugural comedy festival.
Right, of course, yeah. And it also goes to say it's also too like it's so many people in their individual lives, and this goes beyond comedy, but I think it's particularly why comedy gets under the gun and gets attacked. So many people are unable to stand in their own power in so many ways and stand in their own truth. And a lot of times when they come after artists and comedians, it's because that projection is I am in denial over my own beliefs and I'm uncomfortable with the way I live my life and I'm not able to see things clearly and truthfully. So I am going to attack somebody who not only can see it clearly and truthfully, but isn't afraid to share that.
Yeah.
That's not easy to do, and you start to learn over time that like real people, I think successful people, everything you have to say something.
Yeah.
Real comedians, I can only speak for comedy. That's the only art form that I do. But it's like you at some point are like, if I'm not saying something or even putting myself at risk to make somebody uncomfortable or whatever, then I might as well just not do this. Like, there's no point, So, and it's kind of like, and it's just this constant test of like, can I stand in my own truth? Can I do this? And in order to do that, that means you're going to have people push back, not believe you, call bullshit, get canceled, get flack. And you have to be like, I believe that this is true and I believe it needs to be said. Mm-hmm. And the more people that do it, the more of us are going to do it on a grand scale on a Netflix special and also in our day to day. We're going to stop bullshitting ourselves. Like, yeah.
She dropped the mic. Do you think that's a win for comedy?
Yeah.
Like this whole Chappelle situation? Because
Yep.
Lenny and I don't often agree. Like we see things similarly in a lot of ways, but we can always find something to disagree about.
Yeah.
We can usually find something to agree about too. But like comedy is one of those things that I do agree with Lenny. Like should be off limits in the sense of cancellation.
Yeah.
Like because that is just inherent in
It's
what
ridiculous.
it is. So
Yeah.
I feel like the Chappelle shit, whether you agree with it or not,
I
or
loved
you're
it.
upset about it, that this is a win for comedians because the art form will die if they can't tell their truth. If they can't
But
make
it's the
fun of
same
themselves.
with movies. It's the
their
same with
people.
everything. It's
Yeah.
the same with everything. It's the same with every type of art that's
Yes,
created.
art
And
in general, for sure.
people are also using this to build themselves up on the social world.
To
They're-
use the
make
clout of being
Yeah.
to
canceled.
make themselves something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not.
Like, oh, look at me. I got
Yeah.
Yeah.
so-and-so
And
canceled.
it's-
Or,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
started the movement.
Yeah.
Got you.
It's like nuts. There might only be two people there.
Virtue signaling
Yeah.
is what it is here. Like, you don't even know anything about this cause. Like, you're just doing it to look like you're a part of something. Like,
Yeah.
just, like, sit down.
Or to,
like,
you know.
yeah.
Ruffle your own feathers.
The other
Yeah.
thing is, I had a young poet tell me one time, he said, the problem with art isn't the art. The problem with art is the people that are taking it in. Because what they don't realize is when they don't like what they're seeing, that usually is a testament to something larger that's going on in society as a whole.
Yeah.
So if you don't like dark art and you're seeing all of this art that's being created and it's coming across as painful or hurt,
maybe you should pay attention to it.
That's a bigger testament
Yeah.
to what is happening as a whole, because artists are usually just reflecting what's
happening
around them.
Yeah.
And this came from like literally like a 19 or 20-year-old, and I stopped down and there is nothing more poignant, I don't think, than somebody saying that. Like when we talk about, Grease being canceled, if you don't like it, but it was true, and it's important to show things, and that wasn't the goal of the movie, but now as you dissect it in 2022, take it for what it is and give thanks.
Watch movies from the 30s and the 40s and the 50s.
Oh my God.
Blackface, it's wild.
What are you gonna do? Watch The Little Rascals.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But even but it's great to see it, and it's real. What you've read about in
But this is what I'm
real.
saying.
Like, this shit exists.
This is what I'm saying. You want to understand why I think the way I do and my father thought the way he did. You have to look at what influenced them, not just what's influencing you.
Yeah.
And you can't erase it.
No, you can't erase it.
And say, this never happened because now we're here.
You should teach it.
Yes.
I think there's art, and then I think there's, I don't know what the other word is. Like, is it commodity? I don't know. Like that kind of stuff. Like when we talk about how like things have gotten kind of soft, or like Hollywood, like movies don't say anything anymore. You have like, they're trying to challenge comedians, or you even look at, and I love pop music. Like I love pop music, but like pop music doesn't always really say anything. Like, so it's like.
In fact, it's not supposed to.
It's not supposed to.
At its root.
At its root. It's supposed to be fun and easy and digested, and
you want meaning, listen to jazz, listen to blues, like listen to
right, like that kind of stuff. So it's like, I think that's and that's okay if that's what you want to make. Then maybe you're just making a product or a commodity or something commercial, and that's okay. Commercialization. There's a time and place for that. Nobody wants to go to a wedding and get drunk on an open bar and listen to a comic be like, let's talk about rape. Like, no, they want to hear like Flow Rida about boots with the fur, nice and easy. Like, but that's what it's meant to do then, is entertain, right? And then I think there's art, which is inherently actually not to entertain, it's to challenge and make people think. That is really what it is. And I lose my mind. There's so many comedians that I know that just sell out, like up and coming people that I work with and stuff. And I'm like, you're saying nothing on stage. If you are going to take up 10 minutes of somebody's time with a microphone, please, for the love of God, stop talking about like farts and talking about like dick pics and like your hair and legs and like bullshit. Like get up there and like make it worth their 10 minutes. Give them something to think about, So it's like, it's just that's the difference between art and not art, and that's, I think, the reason. Substance. Comedy comes under attack because it's just what you said. Like, it's like if it makes people uncomfortable or if it's not what they actually believe, they just don't even want to hear it. And I'm like, you could walk out and heckle me and turn a blind eye. It's not going to change the fact that, like, most men in this room hit their wives. It's not going to change the fact that most women in this room have had an abortion. Or it's not going to change the fact that, like, this is the truth about what happened in the pandemic and why things are the way they are. So you either, I don't know, people and artists either, like, you can't change the truth. So what are you going to do? Are you going to ignore
Jerry
it?
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Just go with Seinfeld.
Go with right. Yeah,
like,
right. It's
if
like,
that's the kind of comedy that you want, like,
great.
Everyday, mundane shit.
I think there's a reason
Larry
why
David.
A lot of like people, and like not to call out middle America, but like middle America or whatever, that are usually like, I don't know if women should have rights and gay people should definitely be called faggot. And I don't know, like, and like black people, ooh, scary. Like all those people too. Also aren't the first people to, I don't know, buy tickets to the opera or a comedy show. What do they do for fun? Bingo and pop music. Like, but that's because it's safe.
That's their culture.
That's their culture. Like, they don't want anything that's not relevant or uncomfortable.
But,
and that's,
But to us bougie city folk,
which is true.
Lenny loves to point this out.
Yeah.
It's important to acknowledge that. It's important to understand
not shun them.
In the larger, if you really want to understand what makes America tick,
it ain't Miami.
You've got to understand all the moving pieces. No,
you do.
Miami is a part of that. You know what I mean? But so is Kenosha, Wisconsin. And so is
Wichita, Kansas.
Hoosier, Indiana, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So are all those West Virginia, the mountains of West Virginia.
Well, I mean, do you have different material for different places?
Yeah, you do. I mean, I think there's a little aspect. I also think about comedy as a product and a service, and then the product is what I pride myself on, and the service is just the ability. So it's like, for instance, if I get hired for like a corporate gig, I don't necessarily know if I'm going to come out swinging with the domestic violence jokes. I think I'm there to provide a service, right? Like I got hired to entertain people at their company holiday party. So let me make them.
Let me talk about Zoom meetings.
Let me talk about Zoom meetings.
Awkward moments and
Right. Maybe I'll squeak in a little something or other that's me. I would never say anything on stage that's really not fully me.
Dick copies on the machine.
Right. All of that stuff. All of that stuff. Getting fingered by the water cooler. Fun stuff like that. Yeah. You know, getting
dating in the office.
Yeah. Dating the CEO. Fun stuff like that. No. But it's like that to me is the service, and then the product is what I attach my name to and like pride myself on. So to your point about other cities, yeah, you have to like adjust, you know, relate to them to some point. But once I get them on my side and I'm like, bye, I'm saying whatever the hell I want, you know, I don't, domestic violence exists in Wichita, Kansas, and Miami, Florida.
No,
so,
absolutely.
you know.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen your show yet, so.
Yeah. So
Until I see your show, I can't.
Can't judge.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all punch jokes. That's it. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so to that point, I don't know, at some point as a comedian or as any artist or even saying like a person, like you just accept yourself for what it is you are and you got to stand in that.
But
no
not
matter
everybody
what.
does. Like that's a beautiful.
Most people don't.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah.
To get to that place, I think is something we should all aspire to. And the thing about cancellation that I do want to point, because you mentioned something earlier.
Yeah.
We're always the first ones to talk about, you know, what God has for you, no one can take from you, right? Like, how often do you see posts like that on social media or on, you know, whatever, right? Like, there's always this kind of, you know, this inspiration. But if people really believed that, then it'd be much easier to walk in your truth, because you would know that even if I lose this job, right?
That's what's meant to happen.
It's meant to happen because there's something bigger for me on the other side. But that's such a it's a scary space to be in, and it really does take some big ass ball. Like, it takes cojones to really, really walk in your truth, and know that no matter what happens, so long as you're being authentic to you. There's something on the other side, right?
Yeah.
Like there's like it's gonna work out the way that it's supposed to.
Yeah. And you don't want anything that's not for you. You know, you learn that, I guess, like the first time we really learned that is with dating, right? People, you don't want anything that doesn't want you, but that goes for a job, that goes for an opportunity, that goes for friends, that goes for art or
I've
anything.
gone extra hard for the dudes that don't want me.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
What?
Yeah. What?
Oh no, I'm gonna change your mind, buddy.
Yeah, like you are. Yeah. I was watching an episode of Workaholics, and Adam Devine's so funny. He said something that was like, he goes, "It's fine if you don't want to date me, but you're wrong, and I hate you." I was like, that's how I am too. I'm like, he dumped me because I'm too amazing. He didn't say that, but I knew.
You know,
yeah,
I
know.
It's just not the right time, you know.
Yeah, I'm like, I guess
he's focused on his career. He doesn't want to. No, it just doesn't.
Oh, that's always funny. There's always a million excuses. Yeah, but also those are probably people too that make those exact same excuses over everything in their life. There's a million reasons to say no, you know, and maybe they don't. But that's a whole other.
I don't know. What percentage of the population do you really think owns their shit?
Not
a lot, like 5.
Not a large percentage.
Yeah.
At all.
I don't think most people have like.
But even in this space.
The other thing to that is, I don't think everybody's capable. I don't think, or when I say capable, everybody's capable. I don't think they have any interest in doing it. They don't have any motivation. They don't have any. You know, it's the people who get up and go to their job every day, go home and fucking microwave
No, they're unhappy in their marriage.
Everything. They just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm here, I'm going to die, and that's it. That's my life.
Yeah, and also, well, I guess human beings, like, we're wired to lean into what's comfortable. That's like, it's like neuroscience. It's like literally our neurological pathways are going to always have us pick what is familiar and comfortable, even if that familiar and comfortable is your boyfriend who beats you or your job that you're miserable at. Because that's just, we want to know what we're comfortable with, the pathway. Yeah.
How many people are around you pushing you to do that?
Well, that's another thing too.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Whether you're capable of doing it or not, if nobody's calling you on it, if nobody's inspiring you to do it, if nobody's demanding that of you, what is the likelihood? Remove yourself, because I'm sitting here having
that's how we get to the 5%.
Well, yeah.
That's how we get to the 5%.
Those are the ones doing it.
There's nobody pushing my buttons, but I get up every fucking morning at 5:30. There's nobody doing that.
Yeah.
There's no, my motivation is in me. and your motivation's in you to have your career, and you also.
I
So,
think that too. Yeah.
That we are literally the 5% sitting in this room.
Yeah.
But and it's hard. It's hard. Well, there's two things. When we write our copy for our stuff, we write it at a 6th grade education. That's how we have to write copy for our advertising, because that's what the country is. So when you think about that, and you think about, we're in an area of self-motivated people and self-starters, the rest of the country just doesn't. They don't get it. There's
Maybe not everybody's meant to either.
No, you need leaders.
Yeah. I think I think that the 5%, the people in the 5% are the artists and the icons and stuff like that, or the people in the public eye, or the people creating, I think, because
you're a creator, so of course.
Right. I'm in the 5%, not financially, and bottom 5.
We're in the 5 and we're shooting for the 1.
We're shooting for the 1, exactly. Yeah, shooting for number 1. But I think that in order to be able to create or take any risk or put yourself out there has to be some element of self-awareness and self-acceptance of whatever the truth is in order to be able to take it there. And I don't think everybody's capable of that. That's why there's artists and non-artists, people with podcasts, people who don't do this at all. What I do wish for everybody is acceptance of the truth. I'm not saying you have to go as far as to so to your point about the person who's miserable or hates their marriage, hates their job, blah, blah, settles. I was thinking that when you said it too. I'm like, at some point there was a denial of truth in themselves. At some point, there's something they don't want to face. At some point, they made a choice that wasn't, and now it's snowballed. And now the pathways are telling them it's easier for me to stay in this, even if it's terrible, because I at least know my way around.
Yeah.
And when I think about changing it, that's a lot.
Listen, I literally have no friends. For the most part, because people that I met over the years, I have a few friends, but people that I met over the years, I just can't relate to the people who get up, go to work, 9 to 5, come home, sit down, have a beer. I don't.
The mundane, the routine.
It's I don't get it, and I can't get on that level with them. It drives me. It drives me crazy sometimes. It's really, it's difficult when you're. People are 9 to 5 and then they're off work. I'm like, I'm never off work.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to be on the same wavelength as those types of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure you find the same thing. I mean, you wake up in the morning and you're sitting there eating your fucking cereal and you're thinking of a joke.
Yeah.
And, you're taking a shit in the afternoon and you're thinking of a joke.
Or you're out with your friends and something happens.
Yeah, she's
always on.
Full-time job.
Full-time
fucking job.
Everything is fun for your bits.
I wouldn't have been that way. When I worked in PR, by the end, I started my own. By the end, my last 2 jobs, I was just getting fired all the time. I really was, because I was in the wrong job. I was doing freelance PR and just getting fired left and right. And I had no conviction. I had no integrity with it. But I think that's what signaled to me, that's not me, the kind of person to just drop the ball on shit. I wasn't passionate about it, So I found the thing that's now encompassing me that I'm happy to be defined by. I'm also happy to fail at it. I think that's the number one thing. I feel really good failing at it.
Lenny loves to encourage people to fail.
I love failing. I love bombing. It's amazing. You just relish in it. Yeah. I'm willing.
Every time you stand up taller.
It's the same thing with relationships too. It's pick someone that you're willing to fail with. Pick a job that you're okay with not being good at.
Yeah,
that's how you know it's true love. It's unconditional. You're I still want to get back up and figure it out.
I totally believe in all of that, but on the same note, I feel like it's sometimes difficult for people who, let's just say they're not creative and they don't know what their thing is. If you don't put 100% into everything you're doing, you can't really, it's just, there's something missing, I have people that work with me that, make very, very good money, and they're just they're not there for their job. And I'm like, if you don't want to work here, I'll find somebody to work here that'll be 100%. But if you're going to stay, give me that 100% at least.
Yeah.
For the time that you're here.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about work when you leave. I don't give 2 shits what you do. But that time that you're here, you better be on.
Yeah.
Because I hired you because you're that person. If you don't like what you're doing, then move down the road.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I just think a lot of people, I think that's conviction and integrity too.
Is it
Like-
also a little bit of privilege? And I say that just
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Like
No.
you get to choose something that you're so passionate about that you just want to do it 23 hours.
No,
and 50
I hope
minutes out of the
everybody-
day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope everybody finds what they're passionate about. I haven't yet. Okay, I've done a lot of shit, Kimmy. I've had several companies. I actually do know what my passion is. I like to build shit. I don't care what it is. A company, a car, a table,
Yeah.
whatever. I like to build shit.
Yeah.
When it's built,
And then you're bored.
fuck.
And he's over
Yeah.
it.
I'm fucking done with it.
But I think that's how you continue to grow and evolve. Like it's like kind of what I always thought about like college. This is a weird metaphor, but when people are like, what should I study in college? I'm like, well, if you're gonna go, you might as well pick something that's kind of evergreen that you could use forever. So it's like
Take
a
classes
skill.
with everything.
Yeah. So it's like, I think that like, is it necessarily comedy or is it more so just like entertaining people and truth telling? Because then you can kind of widen the scope and then you're also never really bored, I feel. I don't know. That's how I'm
Or
trying to.
pigeonholed.
Or pigeonholed.
I can write. I can do this.
I could do a
that.
podcast. I could, whatever. I could talk to the wall. I do, whatever, So, but yeah, and I think it's like, to your point about showing up and not being 100% or at least asking that of people when they're with you, like that's so much of life is like showing up and trying to show up authentically. And if you really aren't enjoying your job and you're slacking and like you can tell in your spirit or whatever, you're not showing up
Leave.
authentically. Leave.
Yeah.
You're not being authentic. I would rather somebody in a relationship with me be like, I'm not feeling it anymore. And I'm like, well, at least you're 100% right now and where you are and how you're showing
Because
up.
you've only been giving me 50 for the past.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at all my ex-boyfriends.
And that shit was short to start with.
Right, exactly. So it was like a flaccid 50. Yeah. Flaccid hashtag flaccid 50. Yeah.
Carrot emoji. What does that
My
mean?
type is a flaccid 50. And is this podcast sponsored by Viagra? No.
No, by ManTFUp.
Pretty much. ManTFUp up.
Hey, there you go. I snort it. No, I'm kidding. Some nights, no. I don't know. It's just showing. It's so many people make so many choices, and I think sometimes I've learned to give grace with people that I feel like have either not like screwed me over, but like been dishonest in some way, two-faced, throw me under the bus, or something was like a miss. I'm like, yeah. The only grace I'll give people is like, they're probably not showing up authentically for themselves. So it's hard. It's going to be even harder for them to show up authentically for me. So maybe like they think they are, but they're not. I think people that treat people like that are probably lying to themselves day to day and probably unhappy with their job or not showing up fully in other areas as well too. And that's a wholly a them problem.
So
and
it
that's
sounds like
Absolutely.
another chronic disease we can add to the long list of things we suffer from
yes.
Did you do an intro for this episode?
in this country. Oh, what? Like, follow, subscribe, all
Yeah,
of that. I
you
did
did
not.
not.
I'll do it at the end.
Wow.
I'm not showing up on that.
Wow.
All right, so we've had
Where's
you
your
here for
head
a while. It's my birthday too. I'm just
Mine
saying,
too.
it's my
We got 3 Aquarians
Yes, we
here,
do.
so we unpacked everything from like cancel culture, technology.
We did it all. The only thing we have left is your definition of ManTFUp. What does it mean to you to man the fuck up?
I think it means to show up when you don't want to show up, is what I think it is. And I also think it means strengthen the face of adversity. No, you know what I think it means? Show up when you don't want to show up. And also getting real and seeing things for what they are is what I think ManTFUp is. I do. If we make it a gender that manning up, I think that men have a strength in removing emotion from things and seeing things logically and addressing things in a very matter-of-fact way, taking them for what they are and handling it
Face value.
face value. So I think showing up, taking things at face value, taking things for what they are, removing your emotion from it. And I just think manning up is showing up when you're expected to show up, showing up when you don't want to show up and stuff like
get it
that.
done.
Get it done. I don't care if you're afraid or you don't want to or you're not in the mood or it's whatever. There's something, and there's strength in doing that. There's power in doing that. So that's really,
And actually, those are sometimes the most accomplished moments. Like when you,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like
When you
you
doubted
thought,
it
when
and
you doubted
then-
or you
Yeah.
thought you were gonna
Yeah.
fall on your face and then you get through
Yeah,
it.
you don't
Yeah.
feel like going, but you got to.
Yeah. Or sometimes so many things like there's so many tangential, like physical, tangible things that we could be doing and creating that we all need to do. And we let things like procrastination, emotion, self-doubt, bullshit, other people's opinions, all this stuff. We all do. We all do it. I do it every single day. Everybody does it every single day. So I think manning up is kind of like washing the bullshit away and being like, bottom line, what needs to get done today? I got to go to work. Work is stand up. I don't care if I have my period. I'm depressed. Someone just dumped me. I'm worried about what someone's going to think of me. Something, whatever. Bottom line
Material.
is I showed, right, material, right. Hey, I'll just take all of that and talk about it on stage. But also I'm expected somewhere. I showed up. Matter of fact, bottom line, that's what I was needed somewhere. I did my job. I showed up, took it for what it is. I think
Very cool.
that's what I define it as.
I like it.
Yeah, we had a couple women in here on the podcast, and they defined it as mankind, like ManTFUp instead of just man.
Okay, well they're
like
wrong.
men.
No, okay.
Like,
Okay,
no,
got
they
it.
said we're all part of mankind,
Yeah.
so man the fuck up.
Like I said, that goes. I think it goes back to the not the cancel culture thing, but I asked
Yeah.
this I asked this on Los Olas Boulevard to a young, I don't know, maybe she was 22, and she was like, "Well, you could take that as like you're calling women weak," and I was like, "Okay, yes, you could." I said, but when I look at ManTFUp, it's a statement that could offend lots of people, but shouldn't offend anyone.
No, it's not attacking
it's
anyone.
It's a way of, it's a way of, it's a way of living. It's a type, it's a thought, it's a state of mind. It's,
Yeah.
Like you said, it's showing up when you need to show up. It's being accountable. It's getting it done. It's putting on your big boy or your big girl.
Yeah, and if I were to remove gender from it for a second, like mankind, sure. Like that's what we all should hold each other accountable for.
We're humans.
Yeah, own my favorite thing to do is like own thy shit. Like you said it earlier. Accountability and self-awareness are my two favorite traits. And like I'm a piece of shit in a lot of ways, but one thing I'll never take from myself is I'm self-aware. And if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
I have no problem putting my tail between my legs and being like, I fucked up. I'm really sorry. I thought about it. This is what I did wrong. I will course correct. It won't, so yeah, if I want to take gender away from it, sure. Human, mankind. That goes for everybody, no matter how you identify. Start showing up for your shit and taking yourself and things
Even
at
to
face
your
value.
point, like, and I think I appreciate this about Lenny. I appreciate it about a Joe Rogan. I appreciate it about a Dave Chappelle. Like, if somebody doesn't like who you are, self-awareness and accountability are also saying, I can appreciate that you don't like it, but I'm not fucking changing.
Yeah, I'm accountable.
And
for
I'm
myself.
saying that. Like, I can be a bit of a big, I'm not calling you this, but I'm saying, like, if you have
Yes, you are.
shortcomings, no, I'm not. And that's
lie.
why I'm clarifying.
Don't lie.
No,
She
like,
knows. Look.
He's
Lenny
catching the
hates
vibe.
change. Lenny, and it's not that he can't understand it. He just is like, for what?
Why? Yes,
Yeah,
why?
Why? He wants to, like, there's, like,
But want to know why? Okay, yeah.
You
But
give
for
me a
me,
good
it's
why and a good reason, and it's not that it's not change necessarily that I hate. It's the way it's being done and the way it's being crammed, and it's the evolution of people is not going to keep up with the technology that's feeding them. That's the
Yes,
that's the
no, I
change.
think we had an
so
incredible
change
conversation
is good. Change is necessary. I believe in it, but
but everything all at once.
yeah, you're trying to change everything and nothing is getting changed because there's no focus.
Yeah, well, that could be another hour that we talk
Yeah.
about that.
that-
I
no,
think
no.
that
Gotta go.
change can be like restless and chaotic sometimes, like when people change for no reason. And I'm like, you have to also address why we're changing and does the change make sense for me and how do I make it work for me as well too. Yeah.
And if you don't
Self-awareness.
like it, but if you
On the
don't like it,
personal
but
level,
just
I'm all
own
for it.
I'm
Yeah.
not changing. I'm not doing it. Like, if you own, like, to me, I have to respect that.
Oh yeah.
If you will just stand in your own shit and stand in your truth, I don't have to agree with
Own
it.
thy
I
shit.
don't have to like it. And that goes back to that. That to me is, at that point, what do I have to argue with you?
I
Right?
can't
What
level.
is left?
I can't level with those people. I am not friends with those people. Everybody in my life, I'm so proud of because all of my best friends are so real with me and real with themselves about like the ugly parts of themselves, the good parts of themselves. Show like how you said, if they don't like change, like I don't fucking like change. I hate it. I resist it. I'm like, well, at least you know that and you're now able to work on it, kind of thing. And I, especially in the last like year or so, I've even stopped booking comedians that I think that I'm like, you're just like in denial. Like you can't even own anything. But it's the same thing like friends. I've just kind of like, even peacefully just let fall to the wayside when I'm like, they're just not, because I don't know. If they can't keep it real with themselves, they can't keep it real with you.
Hence, I got 24 years on you and I have no friends.
Yeah. Well, it's so true. As you get older, the circle just
And it should. If
narrows.
the same size at 40 as it was at 15, you probably are holding on to some dead weight.
You're holding on to the dead weight, or you have not found yourself.
Yes, you haven't grown. You
haven't
evolved.
grown, and you're not in these unions for a genuine reason. You're in it to be accepted and feel validated about yourself. Because if you truly are in a deep, genuine relationship with people, shit's gonna get messy. And people are going to fall to the wayside because it's the same thing like comedy. If everybody likes your comedy and it's safe, you're probably not saying anything. Like, I just said this the other day to somebody. I was like, I was talking with a close friend about somebody else. And I was like, don't you think it's like a weird red flag about her that she wants to be friends with everybody? She's so cool with everybody. Like, nobody knows who her people are. Everyone's her she's
bestie.
hanging out, her best. I'm like, that's fake as fuck. That's so fake. It's so fake. She's bullshitting herself and everybody. Cause yeah, you could be cool with people. You could be popular and social to some extent. But at the end of the day, I have my people.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have been in my life for years and years and years. And it's very tight-knit, the amount of people that know about my personal life, that I invest in, that I've fought with, that I've had falling outs with, that I've whatever. But I'm at some point when it's too many people, I'm oh, you're fake. Something here is
Yeah, you can have acquaintances, but when you're trying to claim everybody,
Yeah.
it's grotesque
Lenny,
to
you
me.
know a shit ton of people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But like he says, I have no friends. And there's a difference.
Yeah,
It's not that he's rude to these people. It's not that
No,
that
I mean,
they don't have
listen,
Yeah.
they're acquaintances, and I'm friendly with thousands of people.
Yeah.
But would I
Friend.
call them my friend? Is there anybody I'm going to call and go, hey man, you want to go get fucking dinner? You want to go hang out?
Or who's gonna bail you out, or who? If you're
Yeah.
gonna-
Yeah.
if
Well,
you're-
I told you that one.
This, yeah.
You have friends that help you move, and you have friends that help you move bodies.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that is
that's Italian as hell,
that's
man.
the
Hell
truth.
yeah. It's the most Sicilian shit.
It is.
That's it. You have friends that help you move your boxes, and friends that help you move your boxes full of bones. Yeah.
Body.
the bottom line.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I think that's a great place to end on. Brittany, how can people find you?
I'm on all of it. At Brittany Brave on Instagram, Brittany Brave Comedy on TikTok, BrittanyBrave.com, all of that stuff.
And it's BRITTANY,
A-N-Y.
not
Thank
like
you.
Spears.
Oh my gosh, no. There's 10,000 different ways to spell Brittany. Mine is the classic way. I saw Brittany one time. I was like, that's some white trash shit. That's some
KNEE.
I married my cousin in a trailer, Brittany.
Make sure we pull that clip. That goes up on TikTok. You want them to come for us?
Hey,
That's
bring it
the-
on.
That's gonna get it right
Bring it
there.
on.
Brittany, the pop star. Okay, congrats. You had a pop star get really famous and coin your name. Okay. And then there's I saw Brittany, BRITNIE. And I'm okay, what are we running? Eclairs? I don't know about that either. BRITTANY. And I'm headlining the Miami Improv for anybody in South Florida, February 27th at 8 p.m. My first time headlining the Improv. So it's a big show. Thank you.
I
Running my
love
hour.
it.
Thank you.
And of course, you can follow us on all social media. We are ManTFUp TV on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter. We're also on Facebook. You can listen to the podcast. You can watch the podcast any and everywhere. Please follow, subscribe, and share. Again, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Buzzsprout, Pandora.
Oh, girl, you're on everything. Yelp, all of it.
No, it's not. It's Lenny. Lenny
What?
is on everything. When Lenny does it, Lenny does it. So yes,
Lenny does it big.
you have no excuses. You can't say I couldn't find you.
When Lenny
Then
moves
you
the
didn't look.
boxes,
You can
Lenny
definitely
moves
find
the
us.
bodies.
Yes, then you didn't.
And when you come for us, make sure you send all of your emails to Kimmy B at ManTFUpTV.com.
Yeah. And CC Brittany Brave Comedy at
There you go,
gmail.com.
yeah.
There
I'll
you
bring
go.
a little levity to it. Yeah.
There you go.
I love it. Again, thank you for watching this episode of the ManTFUp Podcast. Hanging out in the man cave, Brittany Brave, Kimmy B, the birthday guy.
Peace.
Lenny.